Okay, people. So hitting Apple TV on the 13th of October, I believe, is Lessons in Chemistry. This is the new TV series that was created by Lee Eisenberg. Yeah, the series is okay. So it is executive produced by Jason Bateman, Michael Costigan, Susanna Grant, Brie Larson, Lee Eisenberg, Hannah Fiddle, Rosa Handelman, Natalie Sandy, Louise Shaw, and Sarah Adina Smith. It's co-executive produced by Mufasorio Odafia, Sean Petterson, Tracy Nyberg, Bo Kilbrew, Elissa Karasik, and Bonnie Garmus, as well as Elijah Allen Blitz. We have Carlos Rafael Riviera handling the music. Cinematography is Zach Galla and Jason Oldak, split, they both took 4 episodes apiece. It's edited by Matthew Barbato, Jared Bryson, Laura Zempel, Jack Cunningham, Daniel Martson, and Lily Wild. The casting was handled by John Papasideria. Production design, Catherine Smith. Art direction is Laurie Wallach, Aurora Arena Garcia, and Glenn Hall. Set decoration, Laurie Musa. Costume designer, Miriam Gordon Cruiser. And the writing of the series was split between Lee Eisenberg, Elissa Karasik, Victoria Batter, Bonnie Garmus, and Susanna Grant, with the episodes directed by Sarah Adina Smith, Bert and Bertie. So, yes, there you go. Our cast as well. So, Brie Larson is Elizabeth Zott. We have got Calvin Evans, played by Louise Pullman. Harriet Sloan, played by Aja Naomi King. We've got Wakely, played by Patrick Walker. Dr. Robert Donati, played by Derek Cecil. Borowitz, played by Thomas Mann. Dr. Price, played by Andy Daly. James Jr. Sloan, played by Yasir Hashim Lafond. Anthony Powers, played by Joshua Hoover. Madeline Evans Zott, played by Alice Halsey. Fran Frask, played by Stephanie Keong. Louise is played by Debbie Pollock. Linda Sloan is played by Amentii Sledge. Bertha Clifton is played by Laura Siegel. Laurel Moore is played by Siggy Ravet. Tom Clemens is played by Brandon Gibson. Shari, played by Joy Jacobson. Junior Sloan is played by Hero Hunter. That's the 10-year-old version. Amanda Pine is played by Shushu Parcells. Right. Frank Marston is played by Robert Allen Booth. Chairman of the board is played by James Gleason. And yeah, we'll go with that. Right now, the gist of the story is set in the early 1950s. Lessons in chemistry follows Elizabeth Zott, whose dream of being a scientist is put on hold in a patriarchal society. When Elizabeth finds herself fired from her lab, she accepts a job as a host on a TV cooking show and sets out to teach a nation of overlooked housewives and the men who are suddenly listening a lot more than recipes. So, yes, so the first episodes to hit Apple is episode 1, Little Miss Hastings, and episode 2, Her and Him. So, episode 1 is this: Elizabeth, a brilliant but frustrated lab technician in the 1950s, is punished after she is caught conducting her own research after hours. Episode 2, in pursuit of a prestigious grant, Elizabeth and Calvin join forces in the lab. Their partnership yields unexpected results. So, yeah, there you go. Now, this is all based on the book of the same name from Bonnie Garmus that came out in 2022. So, you got like Apple must have got hold of the draft of the book right before the release. And so, yeah, that always says a lot when someone takes a book that's not even published and starts developing it into a show or a film, right? I mean, we've seen it work, we've seen it fail. But I'm an avid cook, right? I'm a pretty goddamn good cook. I'm not one of those fancy motherfuckers. My shit don't always look perfection, but goddamn, some tasty ass shit, people. Trust me. You know what I mean? Hey, how do you think I got the woman in my life to say yes? Because I cook up a storm and bake up a storm, people, in the goddamn kitchen. So a show about food can always pique my interest, right? Because watching these kind of things, you get ideas sometimes, right? Or you see a recipe that you might want to try. Now in this, we do see Elizabeth make a lasagna, and that recipe is available. So if you go check the YouTube channel, you will find the video and the recipe. So yeah, people, there'll be a link in this YouTube video, so you can go check out the other video. So there. Now this is this cast. It's a great cast. It's a great cast, and we start off with her hosting this show, right? She's arriving. There's women outside. Everyone's like clamoring to meet Zott. And she's walking in, and the producers and everything are like, "Oh, we got this. Are you ready?" Blah blah blah. She's a star. So she's there. She's doing her thing, and then we jump back in time. I think it's 10 years. It might have been 15. I think my memory is so bad, so goddamn bad. But we jump back in time to how all of this got started, right? How did it all get started? So she's a lab technician. And look, this is set in the 50s. So we know what that was, right? A lot of sexism, a lot of racism, like peoples were marginalized, right? Not looked at as being able to do what, a white male could do. So, she's got a degree, right? She wanted to do a PhD, but that didn't go to plan. Now, we do find out what actually happens about the PhD in episode 2. I mean, you can probably imagine what might have scuppered those chances. But yeah, so she's qualified, but you know, it's, hey darling, hey sugar, now make me a coffee, you know, do this, like, not treated with the same respect. Now there's a lot of office politics that we witness, and it's that other kind of crazy thing of people like stitching each other up, right? You've got the secretaries who I think view her as being a bit up herself, you know what I mean? And thinking that she should be taking part in the pageant and all of this kind of stuff. So there is that kind of friction internally, which really sparks everything that happens. You know, we got this superstar chemist, right? Who everyone, you know, adheres to because, right, Calvin Evans, he is, you know, getting all of these grants and recognition. So, you know, in the first episode, we see friction between them, but Calvin is a very mathematical. So he's not even looking at things as gender and race and all of that. He's looking at things of, well, I need this for my research, so why shouldn't I have it? So the story then develops from there. You know, his neighbor, Calvin's neighbor, is Harriet Sloane, right? Who happens to be black, right? So we are then getting this racial element thrown into the episode and the story because of that and the things that are going on in Harriet's life. So it is interesting, you know, like it's filmed really well. You are engrossed in this story. You know, it feels like, right, it is 1950s America. So all of that is good. Now, I will say, you can see where the story is going, right? I think you're not really going to be shocked at where it then gets to in episode 2, right? I think that's pretty clear. Now, there is this whole thing about a motorway, right? But I think an interesting thing is that the consequences of something aren't ever really followed up upon, which, I mean, you might say it says a lot about race, right? And that disregard, but I don't know, right? It is hard to say. It's hard to say, but yeah, that was a bit, I thought that was a little bit odd. Now we get a conversation about, but that's it. That's as far as it goes. You know, there's a lot of veiled threats and maneuvering and all of that. But it's interesting. We do jump in between the two timelines, right? So we see more of this lasagna cooking, you know, show. Now it's a cooking show, but in the episode that we are seeing over the course of the first 2 episodes, she's making lasagna. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that component of this goes, right? What other things we might see Elizabeth cook, right? I'm definitely fascinated by that. But episode 2 does end in a crazy way. It does end in a crazy way. Now, it is precursored by something we see in the first episode. And, you know, I'm not just saying this, people, but literally, a minute before the end of the episode, I called what was going to happen. Right? I think you will know, if you've been paying attention, right, and you just know storytelling, you know exactly where it's going to go. Right? Now, that doesn't necessarily make it bad, right? Because I think a lot of times we predict things in films and TV and books, right? In anything. But it is, how do we get there? And, how does that then lead on to the next component, right? That's the big question here. So I will say episode 1 and 2 are very solid, right? Very solid. They bring the story forward, right? There are some definitely interesting elements and components. As I said, we do know where exactly this is going so far, right? We know where it's going. And I mean, we know that, after everything, she gets this cooking gig. So I think what will be compelling is, okay, so then how do we move forward from episode 2? That's going to be the big thing. That's going to be the thing. So it is 8 episodes, right? It is 8 episodes. And we will be able to, see what happens, right? See how all of this unfolds and where Elizabeth and Calvin go from here, you know? So I believe all of this will be done in, towards the end of November. So what we're going to do is, right, we will look at these episodes, we will, we've talked about episode 1 and 2. So before episode 8 drops, right, before that drops, we will come back and, talk about where we go from there. You know what I mean? We will give you our thoughts, right? An overview of those final 6 episodes. Yeah. So hopefully, people, you will, you will like what we have to say, appreciate it all. You know what I mean? I'm interested. Yeah, I'm definitely interested and intrigued to see how this develops, to see, where exactly does it go, right? How do we get to the cooking show, and then what happens, right? So this will episode 8 comes out on the 24th of November. So I will endeavor to get the overview out on the 23rd. There won't be any spoilers, so don't worry about that, right? But yeah, lessons in chemistry. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued, people. So if you have read the book and watched these episodes, definitely let me know how you feel it holds up. And if you haven't read the book, just let me know what you think of those 2 episodes. I feel if you like The Queen's Gambit and Mad Men, you will like this. So it's on Apple TV, and new episodes will be dropping every Friday after the 13th.